Hey everybody, it's Jeff with Wiseman Automotive. Um, I was working on this 2313 Honda Accord 2.4 liter automatic transmission, and I was going to do a video on it, show you step by step of what I did. But I think I'm just going to kind of explain it to you real quick and give you some tips, and maybe this might help you out one day when you're going through doing some electrical diagnosing. So, just a little bit of history on this vehicle is about a year ago, it got towed into me with a no start condition. And the problem was is that when you cycle the key on, it would spray fuel out, and obviously fuel wasn't getting to the engine, so it couldn't run. I put it up in the air, saw the fuel coming out, so I put it back down. I popped the back seat loose, and there was a inspection plate for you to access the top of the fuel tank to get to the fuel pump. So I popped that plate off of there, and I saw where mice had actually chewed through the fuel line. Okay, so I priced the fuel line through Honda, and the way they have it is that when you buy the fuel line, you get the gas tank for free. So it was several $100s. I want to say it was like $400 or $500. I looked at aftermarket. I could not find a fuel line to replace for this thing. So it got me thinking. I was like, okay, isn't there some kind of shark bite fitting? So over the years of me owning campers and stuff, when you have like a busted line, water line or something like that, you can cut a section out and then you put these things called shark bite fittings, and they connect on there and they lock on there real good. And excellent way to fix lines that, in my experience. So I was thinking, okay, do they have one but for fuel line? And so I did a little digging, and sure enough, they did. And they had these right here. Okay, this was a package of two. They're like $10 or something like that. And anyways, I put that connector on there. You just lock it in there on either side. Make sure they're locked in real good. And a year later, still working, no leaks. That was a really good fix. Customer was very happy because they didn't spend several $100s in parts and several $100s in labor, because it would have been a lot. So now we have a little bit of history on this vehicle. This vehicle's back now, but not for that fuel issue. It's for a different issue. So you got to drive over here, but it's stuck in limp mode. Check engine lights on, pulled a code. It was like a PO 84302, which was like transmission pressure solenoid, something like that. And anyways, so I immediately just started looking, and I'll show you what I did. So before I removed the battery tray and the battery box, I just was looking with my eyes. I looked right down here in this area, and I saw some wires hanging. And I'm like, okay, I know that that's where I need to go. So I'm suspecting that a rodent has chewed through the wires. Now, I'm going to tell you, I got a fake snake in here, so if you don't like looking at snakes, you better skip through the video real quick. All right. So I'm going to explain my fake snake here in a minute, okay? So got the battery out, got the tray out, all that good stuff. Right here is a pressure solenoid, and this is a connector for it. And down below that, that black connector right there, that is the one for the vehicle speed sensor. Okay. Now, why does it need a vehicle speed sensor and wheel speed sensors? I don't know. It's just how Honda did it. Anyways, the mice had chewed the wires right here, right at the tip of the connector, and also back here. So it was really going to be, I couldn't like just put a piece of wire in and pigtail it on there. So I needed to get some terminals, and I'm going to tell you what I did. So I called up Federated Auto Parts, and I asked them if they had any connectors for the speed sensor and the pressure sensor. Well, they had one for the speed sensor, but they didn't list anything for the pressure sensor. So what I did, and the connectors looked very similar. They actually look like this. But if you see where they put those little tabs right there, my finger is, one is higher, one is lower. And the reason why they do that, so that way you can't mix the connectors up. But they're still basically the same connector other than that. So the one, I just spliced that one in there, took the pigtail connector, put it on there, no problem. And here's the part number that I used in case you need to access that. Okay. And the other one, what I did was I took the connector terminal apart and got the pigtails out of the back of the connector, and I just reused the factory connector. And basically, what you have to do that, you got to take this piece out right here. It's a little gray piece, okay? You slide that gray piece that's in the front right there. It goes in the front. Kind of hard to do this with two hands here, but anyway, so you take that gray piece out, and then you take and you can use special tools to do it. I just took an old pick that I took to the grinder and made it real thin. You can release that lock tab, and you can pull that wiring terminal out the back side. So I took the old ones out. I ordered two of these, one to do a direct replacement, and the one to dissect. And I used one of the wires that was out of this terminal to fix the pressure solenoid, because they only shoot through one of the wires there. So I put it all back together thinking I got it. And then I have take it on a test drive, and I notice the speedometer's not working, and the check engine light comes back on. Well, let me back up for a second. I will say this. At this point on the test drive, I fixed a wiring harness where they chewed through, so I'm thinking, okay, I got it fixed. And so now I go on a test drive, and then, like I said, the speedometer isn't working, and the check engine light comes back on, and it comes on with a P0502, which is Vehicle Speed Sensor A. And I'm like, what in the world? I thought, I fixed that. So I went through and I took my work back apart a little bit. I was like probing the wires, make sure I have resistance on each side of the connector. I was making sure everything I did was good, and I was doing all my testing, and everything I did was good. So I'm thinking, man, what is going on? This is driving me crazy. So I go to all data, and the drive pulley speed sensor right here, click on that. Okay, that's the connector one of the two connectors up front that I fixed. And I was thinking, okay, I fixed that. And then I go to this one right here, speed sensor removal installation CVT, and I'm looking, and it says remove the intake air duct. So I'm like, okay, why do I have to remove the intake air duct? I don't understand. Well, turns out that the mice have actually chewed at two different spots in this car. And if you look down right there, see if I can zoom in for you, get a better picture. So I had to take the air hose off and the air box off, and that's where I spliced in and fixed it. Now I'm going to tape that up here in a minute, but I just want to show you that there is a connector down here, and I will tell you, it is not easy to get to. See that connector right there? The mice chewed that up as well. So I actually had a two-part problem. The mice even was chewing on the ground strap here, okay? And they are just, basically slowly destroying this car. That's why I put a fake snake in here. So, having a camper, living in the woods, sometimes I buy fake snakes off of Amazon, little toy snakes, and I will place them around my camper, and then about every month or so I go out there and move them around, and so that way the mice might think it's real, and I do say I think it helps keep the mice out of my camper. So I had a couple extra ones, so I'm going to give this, donate one to this guy. He's one of my friends, so I'm going to put this one here in hopes that the mice see that and then run away. Another trick I did, I'm actually wrapping the wire in tinfoil and then wrapping it with black electrical tape. And if you look right there, you can kind of see I left a little bit of poking out to show you what I'm talking about. So after I made my wiring repair, I wrapped that wire in tinfoil, and then I wrapped it in electrical tape in hopes that if the mice come back, they won't be able to chew on that wire. So my hope is that when the mice try to go chew on the wire, at least the part where I put the tinfoil, they start chewing on that and be like, oh, and they won't like it. I don't know if it'll work or not. I'm just trying to do what I can to help my customer out. Like I said, that fake snake in there, I think that's actually going to work. I'm just going to make sure he's wrapped up in there really good, so that way I might even put like a little zip tie around that ground wire or something like that, just to make sure it doesn't fall down on the ground. I'm going to tell the customer, by the way, that I leave it in there, so in case he were to poke around in there, if he were to have a fear of snakes, he ain't going to freak out on it. It will be hidden though, so you'd have to look pretty hard to see that. You know, I know people say, like I said, this putting soap around in dryer sheets. I've never seen where that actually worked. With my experience with campers and stuff, I will say one time when I was working at a dealership, a Dodge came in, a Dodge truck, a Ram, and opened the hood, and there was live mouse traps, like the snap kind. Like there's probably like 10 of them under the hood that they had taped everywhere. It was kind of like working like on a booby trap vehicle. I guess he had gotten annoyed by the mice tearing up his vehicle, and he was trying to do whatever he could to keep them from tearing up his truck. Um, so the parts like that I did that I can reach, though, I'm gonna, like I said, wrap them in tinfoil, then wrap them in electrical tape. I'm gonna put the snake in there, leave it in there. Like I said, I'm gonna tell the customer. I'll also something else I'm gonna try. So they actually were chewing that ground wire, which was kind of crazy to me. I'm gonna spray some of this stuff down with some ant and roach spray. Um, so I'm kind of not looking like to necessarily kill the mouse with this, but I'm wondering if, you know, when he goes to chew on it, he'll have a bad taste in his mouth and be like, yeah, that's awful. And maybe he'll, you know, go play somewhere else. Um, so another reason I want to tell a story, if, you know, if you're a customer or even if you're a technician, you know, I focused all my energy right there. And when I fixed it, I thought for sure, you know, I called my customer and said, hey, here's a problem. Here's what's going to cost to fix it. And he said, do it. And then I get in there, I fix that problem, and then I'll take it for a test drive. Another problem comes up. You know, that other code wasn't prevalent until after I fixed these right here. Now, I don't know why it wasn't in there. But anyway, so I had to call the customer back and say, hey, man, look, they actually chewed at another spot in another connector, and it's going to be just a little bit more money. He's understanding. He's one of my friends, but that could have turned into a bad thing because, you know, then customer might say, if it was a customer, you know, who didn't know me, they could be like, oh, well, you know, I approved one job and you're just going to, you know, you're just going to keep adding on, you know, when that's not the case, especially with me working on stuff. I never do that to people. So just be careful with that. Just explain, you know, just explain to the customer, hey, look, this is at least one spot where they damaged it. You know, they could damage it other spots. And now that I have the one in the back fixed, I'm going to put it all back together and take it for a test drive again. And then I'm hoping that there's no other problems that we don't know about. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think. What do you guys tell your customers? How do you tell a customer, you know, what advice do you give them for taking care of a mouse situation or a squirrel or something like that? How do you keep them from gnawing on y'all's vehicles? I'd love to hear some ideas. Basically, those are all the ones I can come up with. So let me know what you think. Yeah, so if you could just let us know what your tricks are to keep mice from doing this to your wiring harness. This is the actual wires that came off that vehicle. I just got it buttoned back together. I took it for a test drive. Everything works good with it. It's all fixed now. But, you know, the mice just, you can tell, just tore this thing up. And another thing is those wires, you know, on these newer cars, which that's even though that car's whatever, 12 years old, whatever it is. But anyways, the wires are really thin, so it's really easy for them to chew through those things. So anyways, yeah, let me know in the comments, what do you do to keep mice from destroying y'all stuff? I would love to know. Let me know any tips, tricks you can share with the rest of us. It would be awesome. All right, please like, subscribe, share this video. Hope it helps somebody out there. And let me know what you think in the comments. And if you have any questions, like I said, I always try to answer them in the comments the best I can. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one.